The iron you choose has a huge effect on how your curls look, how long it takes you to do them, and how healthy your hair is. But the thing most people don't realize is you can do the exact same type of curls with the exact same technique on 2 different irons, and one will give you curls that last much longer. This is not going to be one of those videos that tells you this is the best iron for everyone, because there's no such thing. Everybody should not be using the same iron. It doesn't work like that. You can't watch a video of some hair influencer and then think that you can just copy whatever iron she does and get the same results, especially because she's probably born with perfect hair. So it's not going to work in the real world. You've probably noticed that your hair will hold curls differently than your friend, your sister, or your mom, and because of that, you're going to need a different iron. Some people's hair holds a curl really well, and other people really struggle to hold a curl. And these different hair types are going to require different irons. And on top of that, people have different tastes. Some people like really loose, beachy waves. Some people like more tight, structured curls that last longer. So whatever your preference is, whatever your hair type is, I'm gonna show you exactly which iron is best for you. If you don't know me, my name is Chris. I own a hair salon called Live Love Locks, where we test out products and bring the best ones to you. I make these videos because way too many people struggle with their hair, and I don't want you to be one of them. The first thing I want to say, and this is super important, is that you do not get what you pay for when it comes to irons. Irons are just a hot stick that you wrap hair around. That's it. And because that's all they do, there's a limit to the complexity. You should really never spend more than $60 or $70 on an iron. But be sure that the hair care industrial complex is going to try everything they can do to make you spend a ton of money. They're sitting around all day in their penthouse on the 90th floor of their tower, trying to figure out how they can get you to spend more than you really should on an iron for features that don't even do anything. They're basically playing Pimp My Ride. If you're old enough to remember, there used to be this TV show on TV where a rapper would come around and pimp people's rides. They would take a regular car and add all these ridiculous things to it. The hair care industrial complex is doing the exact same thing with curling irons now. And if you have money spilling out of your pockets and you want to buy an iron with a barbecue pit that looks like a coffin, go for it. But there's no way I'm going to sit here and tell you in good conscience to pay for these expensive irons that have all these expensive features that have absolutely no benefit at the end of the day. Let me give you an example real quick so you know what to stay away from. This iron is called the T3 Curl ID. It's a psychic curling iron. You just hit a couple buttons and it tells you the perfect temperature. And first off, there's no such thing as a perfect temperature. This is a complete myth. Red flag right off the bat. They're trying to get you to believe that you will have amazing curls if you use this iron that has this undiscovered perfect temperature. And if they can get you to believe that, they can get you to spend $250 on a hot stick that you wrap your hair around. But here's the thing that blows most people's minds. The temperature of the iron really does not matter. That's a huge misconception, and way too many people are obsessing about the temperature because that's what they're being told to obsess about, and it's just not the case. I totally get it. It's really easy to get tricked into that, and even easier to get tricked into buying an expensive iron that promises you some magical temperature that will give you the curls of your dreams. And I'm here to tell you, don't waste your money on any of that. It's just not necessary. The temperature of the iron actually doesn't matter that much. You want to be in the ballpark, don't get me wrong. You don't want to be super hot, and you don't want to be super cold either. What nobody ever tells you is that what you really want to focus on is the temperature of your hair, not the iron. The real secret to curls comes down to one thing and one thing only, and that is that to hold a curl, your hair needs to get to a certain temperature. That's it, and that temperature is actually different for everyone. If you get your hair to that temperature, it's going to hold an amazing curl. If you don't get your hair to that temperature, if it's below that, it's going to fall out and it's not going to hold. And if you go way over that temperature, you're going to do damage to your hair. So the whole idea of a perfect magical temperature for your curling iron, throw that completely out the window. All you want is to be 375 to 400, somewhere in there, and you'll be absolutely fine. Most hot tool companies and stylists tell you to use a temperature that's actually way lower than it should be. And the reason for that is they're afraid that you're a beginner and that you might do something bad to your hair. And if you are new to this, by all means, use a lower temperature, practice, get used to it. But if you've been watching my videos, you have a healthy hair routine, you know how to use heat protectants, 375 to 400 is going to be perfect for you. So from here on out, we're never worrying about the temperature of the iron again. We're throwing that out. The only thing we're worried about is the temperature of your hair, because that's what actually makes or breaks your curls. The sad thing is the constant focus on the temperature of the iron blinds us to the fact of what actually does matter when it comes to temperature, and that is how long you leave the curl on the iron. You can have some expensive iron with whatever perfect temperature they have on there, and if you leave it on your hair too long, you are still going to burn your hair. Remember that we're focusing on the temperature of your hair, because if we get it to that certain temperature, it will hold an amazing curl. Just because the iron is 375 degrees doesn't mean that your hair is automatically 375 degrees as soon as you wrap it around it. You have to leave the iron on your hair for a certain amount of time, and that's what we're gonna focus on next. So again, forget about the temperature of the iron. We're gonna focus on how long we leave the iron on the hair, because that affects the temperature of the hair. And if we get the hair to the right temperature, that's how we get perfect curls. So the question now is, what temperature should you get your hair to get an amazing curl? And that's different for everybody, but it's actually really easy to figure out. You don't need a thermometer or anything like that. You just need your eyeballs. So here's how I teach it to the new stylists in my salon. You're gonna start doing your curls in the back bottom of your hair, because nobody's ever really gonna see that. You're gonna take your iron, which should be around 375 to 400, anywhere in there is fine. You're gonna start playing around with how long you leave the iron on your hair. It could be 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. You're gonna play around and see what the least amount of time you can do while still getting a curl to hold. Whatever the least amount of time ends up being, you're gonna use that time to do the rest of your head. That's all there is to it. If you want more tips on how to curl your hair, I have a tutorial right up here. So let me show you what things actually do matter. One thing that really does matter is the brand of curling iron that you pick, and that's for a couple different reasons. First off, a good iron should never break within the first year or two. If you do the right brand, this should last you 5 to 7 years, so let's make sure we get the right brand. My two favorite brands are Hot Tools and Babyliss. These things are built like absolute tanks and they will last you forever. We use Babyliss all day, every day in a salon setting, and the average lifespan on one of these is like 5 years. So if you're only using it at home every couple of days, it should last you way longer than that. If I had to choose just one, it would be Babyliss. I pride myself on digging into stuff and figuring everything out, but for some reason, these just make the curls last longer. I don't know how. If I figure it out, I'll let you know, but these just seem to give a longer lasting curl. Specifically, this is the Babyliss Nano Titanium. They have an entire family of irons, every shape, every size, wands, marcels, clamps, everything. When you're trying to pick out the perfect iron specifically for you, one of the first things you want to take into account is the size of the iron. Don't just take the size of somebody else's, you need to pick a size that works for you. The size of the iron determines how tight the curls will be. So a very big iron will give you very loose curls. So if you like super loose curls, you want to get a big iron like the 1.25. But remember, loose curls are not strong curls. So if you struggle to get curls to hold, you really want to stay away from these big irons. These are super, super loose, so loose that they fall right out on most people unless your hair holds a curl really well. Most people want to use a medium-sized iron, which is 1 inch. I use this on the majority of my clients because you can do almost everything with it. Most people should get a 1 inch iron unless you're absolutely sure that your hair will hold a loose curl. But if you're one of those people who really struggles to hold a curl, you don't want to use the 1 inch. You want to use something even smaller, and this is the 0.75. A small size like this will give you really, really tight curls that last a long time. And the funny thing is, they look really weird when they first come off the iron because they're so tight, but if you struggle to hold a curl, that's exactly what you want because you know they're gonna fall. As soon as they fall, they'll look perfect. So quick little recap. A big iron, a 1.25, is going to give you very loose, flowing curls that don't hold very well. The safest option is to go with a 1 inch. That works for most people, but if you're one of those who struggles to hold a curl, make sure to go with the small one, the 0.75. We also need to talk about the different styles of iron. And the first one is the Marcel iron. And I really, really strongly recommend you stay far away from this one unless you already know how to use it. These are what hair schools make you use when you're learning because they think it's fancy. But as soon as the stylist graduates, they stop using that and they start using a spring iron because it's so much better and so much easier. If you like having a clamp, I really suggest you use a spring iron. The clamp is actually really useful. You can do a lot of things with it, even like pushing down flyaways just by spinning it over the hair. Wands are the easiest type of iron and they give amazing results. Most people at home don't need a clamp, it just gets in the way and makes things harder. You can get absolutely amazing curls with wands and they're super easy because all you have to do is hold them upside down and still. That's really it. These are really easy if you're doing at-home curls. I suggest you start off with one of these. The material of the iron you choose makes a big difference also. You have two materials. You have tourmaline, which is ceramic, or you have titanium. Those are really the only two things you should be choosing between. Tourmaline is the weaker version because they don't transfer heat directly as effectively as a titanium iron. That doesn't mean they're useless though. They're actually great for beginners or people who are just starting out on their hair journey. But if you want the absolute best results, you want to use a titanium iron. These transfer heat much more quickly. They give you much more shine, much more smoothness. I use these at the salon every day. It's the only thing I use. If you want amazing professional results, you should definitely go with the titanium. But if you have a 12-year-old niece who's just getting into hair and she's learning how to do her curls, a tourmaline is great for her because she can't do that much damage with it. I also want to tell you about some features that some brands use as a differentiator to get you to buy their stuff, when in reality, every iron has this and it's not really a thing. The number one fake benefit is heat up time. Any modern iron will heat up really, really quickly. You don't need to buy something just because it heats up quickly. Old irons, this was an issue. I totally get it. It used to take old irons a long time. Any modern iron will heat up really quickly. And the second thing is, don't buy an iron because it tells you it has great heat distribution. Every iron on the market today has great heat distribution. It was a problem in the past. It's not a selling point anymore. Everything has it. The last feature is how many times a second it checks the temperature. You don't need to check the temperature 120 times a second. It's just not a thing. Any iron will do this. It's only old irons that you need to worry about. Any modern iron will have a fine temperature. Don't worry about it at all. One quick last note that I want to mention is that you need to protect your hair anytime you're using a hot tool. Yes, of course that means a heat protectant, but there's actually more to it than just that. You absolutely need to have a healthy hair routine. If you don't have a healthy hair routine, damage, even if you use the heat protectant, is going to build up over time and do damage to your hair. If you don't have a healthy hair routine, you really need to get one. I made a video, I'll link it right up here. It takes 2 products in 2 minutes, transforms the life of your hair. So hopefully you have a great idea of which brand of iron you're going to buy, the size of iron you're going to buy, and the type of iron you're going to buy. Those are really the only 3 options you need to deal with. If you're new, you should really check out my recommended product list. You don't need nearly as many products as you think you do, and this will help you find the perfect matches for your hair. I'll leave it pinned as the first comment. If you have any questions, leave a comment below and either me or somebody from the community will help you out. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Have a good one.